Hey everybody, and welcome to my micro lecture on Chapter 13, where we talk about the last of the 4 P's of marketing: distributing, which is otherwise known as place, that's what makes it a P, and promoting products also. And I find it interesting that a lot of times students get the two mixed up, and it's easier to do when you think of the process of buying things online. So, but we'll get to those. Again, my micro lectures are designed to give you some additional information than maybe what you see in the text, but you are responsible for all the concepts and the ideas that are being promoted in the text as well. They'll never be in conflict. They'll only, what I say will just be supportive of what you read in there. Your learning objectives for the chapter are to explain the meaning of the distribution mix and identify the different channels of distribution. Describe the role of wholesalers and functions performed by intermediaries. Describe the different types of retailing and explain how online retailers add value for consumers on the internet. Define physical distribution and describe the major activities in the physical distribution process, otherwise known as the supply chain. Okay, and then you want to, from a promotion standpoint, you want to be able to identify the objectives of promotion and the considerations in selecting a promotion mix. Discuss the various kinds of advertising promotions, and outline the tasks involved in personal selling and describe the various types of sales promotions that are out there. So that's covering a lot of ground, but we're going to talk about quite a bit, work through all these. So it's real important to make a distinction between the distribution mix and the promotion mix. If you think of promotion activity as conveying to your target customer information, trying to get them to act on create demand by acting on different, through different media to make that happen. Distribution is really all about a combination of all the distribution channels by which a company will get its products to the end users. And we can think about that vertically and throughout the different stages of the process of the product itself. And we can also think about it in terms of where are we ultimately going to sell it, and offer it, I should say, to our target customer base. And the real answer to that is where they shop. I know that sounds like really simple, but it's not as easy to figure out as you might think. So some of the intermediaries in the distribution channel are wholesalers. Might handle the product and get it from one part. They add some value usually when they do that. So they break down products into smaller units, which can be sold to the next chain, a step in the chain, which would be through retail. And it's basically who are the people who are selling to products directly to the consumers. As I've mentioned all along, all these things are undergoing a tremendous amount of change, largely driven by technology and logistics improvements. Okay, so your distribution channel is all the independent companies through which a product passes from the producer to the end user. And the distribution channel is in which a product travels from the producer to consumer without intermediaries. Okay, let's make a distinction here, and this is kind of an interesting thing to do. We talked about the supply chain, and the supply chain was always blamed ever since COVID for like shortages and things like that. But supply chains were designed to become more and more and more efficient, and that's been going on now for decades. And as they became very, very efficient, basically their manufacturing capacity was to fulfill the demand as it was established, and that makes it just almost like about as efficient as it can be. Now let's look at a weird product, I know, but most people remember during COVID, it was really hard to buy toilet paper of all things, so when where do these shortages come from and all that? Well, guess what? It didn't have to do with the fact that we used more toilet paper. It had to do with the fact that we were buying more before we needed to use it. And so that's where this whole concept of hoarding came in. Well, that really messes up an efficient supply chain because the people who produce toilet paper are very efficient. And the demand for it is, it's fairly steady, right? So they know how much they need to produce to affect the demand. But when the consumer changes their behavior and buys a lot more upfront, that means it creates two problems for the supply chain. One is it creates the problem of them not having enough to fulfill the demand as it stands at that moment in time. But down the road, people are, like I said, we don't use more of it, so we just have more of it there. We're going to actually end up buying less than what we bought before. So it really plays havoc on the supply chain. So that gives you an idea what the supply chain is about. Maybe that'll help you understand that. Obviously, we can think about different levels of distribution. Each one of these as a step in distribution. So most products are distributed in a multi-step process. However, some products are sold directly from the producer to the end user. Now, that traditionally isn't the normal case. Obviously, when we talk about products like groceries and stuff, you can imagine buying everything in your grocery cart, placing a separate order through different manufacturers for each of those. Grocery shopping would become even more painful than it is already. So the supermarket is adding value as an intermediary between the producers and the consumers. Okay, so that's how we do the value from what gets added into the supply chain. Okay, so that's basically, we're describing the supply chain and what distribution is, and obviously where you sell and all that is part of your distribution mix. As a super quick side note to this, I always think this is interesting for people to see. We talk so much about e-commerce and buy things online that we think that that's the dominant way that products are sold, and that's pretty far from being true. So if you look at this blue line here, it shows the percentage of total retail sales that e-commerce is. Red shows the percentage change. It was obviously directly impacted by COVID, but as we go looking forward, and impacted in a sense positively by COVID, because more consumers saw that it was a reasonable way to buy things, and they really didn't have much of a choice because they couldn't get to too many stores at the time. So sort of forced the hand, but but as you can see, this is what it's progressing to. The reason why we think it's a higher percentage of it is the company that just dominates it, the 800-pound gorilla in the channel, is Amazon, and because they're that, they, we just assume it's just a lot larger than it really is. And the last of the 4 P's is promotion. So but basically what promotion is about is how does your target customer become aware of and take action towards your product or service. There's lots of things that are influencing promotion at this point. One of the things I find really interesting is online influencers are talking about you and your product. Having managed through these things, it's a little bit of a challenge, I'm going to say, because they operate very independently. And the consumer's voice is loud as it's ever been. There's reviews out there. Some of them are real, some of them are malicious. And the speed by which all these things happen can build or kill a product very quickly. Okay. So how your target becomes aware of your product and towards your action, or taking action towards your product or service. Loyalty programs are on the rise. I think when I ask this question in class, most students raise their hand when I ask who's a member of Amazon Prime, as an example. But loyalty programs on the whole are on the rise. With the development of apps, you can, and that's kind of an action of a loyalty program. Because you have the app, you can get access to promotions, like, for example, at a fast food place or something like that. So it's really kind of interesting how well those have developed over time. They've been around for a long time. It's nothing new. It's just something just interesting how much it's increased. The promotional mix is the combination of all the tools that you use to promote a product. What I think is interesting about this is there are lots and lots of different things that are going on right now in terms of getting your message out there. The reason why I think this is important to note is that the promotion mix is directly reflective of how the consumer spends their time getting information. Okay? So you can picture back at one time it was maybe leafing through catalogs or something like that. Now we go online and we search like crazy. We look at social media. We look at all kinds of different things. So how we are spending our time getting information is changing, and therefore the promotional mix is changing as well. So by far and away, you're going to see just a whole lot more, a multitude of channels to get your message across. These are some of the largest advertisers, because when we talk about advertising as a component of the promotion mix. Sometimes people are saying, it's all free now, you don't have to pay for advertising. It's like, well, that's funny because Comcast spent $5.75 billion on advertising. I'm not sure what year that was, but that was a pretty significant amount of money spent on advertising. So I guess where we're spending it maybe is changing, but not the amount it's actually going up. So where the advertising dollars go, and I'm going to apologize for this a little bit. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit here and without messing this up too bad. But we are, again, this is reflective of all the different things that we are, how we are spending our time getting information. Traditional television advertising peaked here. They would have been like around 2000, looks like 2014. And then there's been a huge decline in it. Well, not surprisingly, so has cable usage and a lot of other things that might drive that traditional television advertising. Now we do a lot more streaming, and that part of it's going up by quite a bit. And our digital sources for advertising also have changed dramatically. Okay, so this is just merely reflective of how we spend our time and where we get information from. So it's an interesting. You'd have to actually study this for a while to make sense of it, but feel free to do that. Okay, let me fix that. So, and the other thing that's happening that's really shaping this is that we are doing less broad-based messaging, like through, television ads and things like that, and more personalized one-to-one micro-marketing. So like the loyalty programs, direct marketing, one-to-one marketing, all these things can be done very effectively online today, especially. So it's really shifted from a broad-based message to a very specific message, building up that relationship with your target market. And that's been going on for a while, but with the digital age coming along, it's really changed rapidly. So when we talk about digital marketing, there's two related but different views towards channel. Distribution channel, we talk about place, or where the product is available, and then the selling promotion channel says where the message is coming from, where the customer actually buys it. In the digital world, it's kind of confusing, so it's a little bit harder to apply. But the one thing to keep in mind is that when we apply the 4 Ps online, we see that you need a multi-channel strategy. You're going to do a lot of different things from a distribution standpoint and consequently from a promotional standpoint. And I say it, this is the interesting thing about it, is it's constantly evolving. That translates to a career opportunity for you young people who are just diving into this world. So, it's incredible how much it's shifting and how much it's changing. All right, well, I'm going to call that, I'm going to have to wrap it up. And if you want to learn anything more about this, feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But also, if something's unclear, I'll be happy to provide you some more information. Okay, so that wraps it up. Good luck, and I hope you find this stuff interesting.